Okay, fantastic. Welcome to Ignite. My name is Mark Fussell. I work on the Azure Service Fabric team. It's a pleasure to be here and see so many of you in this room. And I am the warm-up act for a number of Service Fabric talks that are happening this week. And in those talks, they'll go deeper dives into what we're doing and building inside Service Fabric. But in this talk, the goal of this talk is to give you an overview of what Service Fabric is, take away an understanding of why you care about it all. I'm going to talk about some customer case studies in there, but I'm also going to show the technology to you and what it's like. On the other hand, I get a lot of people who come to me and say, well, I know Service Fabric already, and I'd like to see what is the road ahead and what's coming in terms of the product schedule and the product roadmap. And so I'm going to address some of those questions as well and try and join those two together. So it's both an overview. I'm expecting many of you in the room have no idea what Service Fabric is. A lot of you hopefully do or know what Service Fabric is. And we're going to try and go through all those questions at the same time. Service Fabric is a distributed systems platform. It's for building microservices. We use it in Microsoft to build many of our huge services, and I'll list some of those. It's a container orchestrator. It's a container orchestrator that we built at Microsoft many, many years ago, before container orchestrators were cool. The project has its goal, has its origins back in 2006, 2007, when we started building cloud databases, and it turned into Azure databases. So when you go and build for the cloud, and this is what happened at Microsoft, we had a lot of box products, and we slowly took those box products like Skype for Business, like SQL Server, we took them to the cloud, and when we took them to the cloud, we realized it was a different world. You had to deal with failures of machines, you had to deal with unpredictable scale. We spent a long, long time thinking about how you manage a service that runs in the cloud. How is it you do rolling upgrades, how you do health monitoring on it. How do you push out changes to it all? How do you do changes on a daily basis, hourly basis? How do you change for a particular customer while not affecting others? Caring up front about security and building the whole gamut of a platform we wanted. And we recognized that across the company, every team was building this. And so we started to generalize on a platform for building our services, and that's what Service Fabric is. So we wanted to push the level up where our developers were being productive building services, not building platform. So it's about building services in a microservices way where you shift towards more agile architecture in terms of how you roll out your changes, how you do your upgrades, deal with scale, and you're prepared to be agile as you build services for the cloud. And so it encompasses what is commonly known now as a microservices approach. Microservices are no more than a chance for you to be more agile because you can do changes on the fly, because you no longer use compilation to tech components, but you use runtime over the network to be able to deploy individual pieces of code. And you can also at the same time scale individual pieces. So the key architectural pieces of a microservices architecture are one, that you can deploy independent pieces of code that are versionable and scalable, and each one of those can scale out individually each other. You can scale each one up to any number of instances or down. You can implement those microservices with different technology stacks. You can build one in .NET Core, you can build one in Java, you can build one in Node.js. The contract tends to be over the wire, over the network, and so you're able to decouple these individual components. And finally, you talk about deploying independent pieces of code with different versions. In Service Fabric, you spend a long time thinking about how you deploy version pieces of code, how you version an individual piece of code and do a rolling out change, so you roll out version 1 to version 2. Of course, there's more complexity to this. It's your responsibility to maintain contract on the wire version compatibility, but rolling out the code changes in a consistent way, guaranteeing that you roll forward to version 2 and not leave yourself in a limbo where half your application is running in version 1 and half in version 2. So these were the microservice architectural benefits that we discovered as we built services through years, and we pushed those all deep into our platform called Service Fabric that we build our services on. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about design patterns for microservices. We have a lot of that stuff in the Service Fabric docs. There's also a great ebook called Microservices ebook that we've written in conjunction with the Visual Studio team that describes a lot of the design practices and best practices for building microservices-based architectures and when to think about how far you should go. Because in reality, what happens is you start with some existing code, and you'll see through his presentation is that that's a journey. You end up just moving a little piece of your app first, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. There's no intention whatsoever for you to say that you have to strip your whole app apart and start from the beginning whatsoever. In fact, Service Fabric deeply encourages that you start with existing code that you have right now, and you don't have to think about microservices. And if you just want to run it and get the benefits of the platform, there's many, many things that you get from that. So if you need a platform to build services on, and a microservice platform, you want that platform to support multiple languages, multiple frameworks, things that you're used to, things that you are familiar with. You want that platform to be available on multiple different environments as well. I want to be able to host it on-premise. I want to be able to host it on the cloud. I want to be able to host it on different cloud vendors. I want to be able to run it on different OSs as well. And of course, you can go out and you can find a whole bunch of different technologies. And there are many of them out there, and there are new ones that appear each week, literally. And you can stitch them all together, and you can build your own PaaS platform, and you can have a great fun time doing that. And I can tell you, you can do this. But you're building a platform, you're not building your business. You have to keep up with these technologies, and it takes a lot of effort to do all of that, and there's a lot of changes, and a lot of it, some of them survive, and some of them don't survive, and you have to decide what's important to you. So one of the key tenets of Service Fabric is that we've given you an integrated platform from a clustering level technology to a high availability technology to a storage technology to dealing with failovers, to doing with health monitoring, and it's an integrated stack, so you can focus on building your applications in a distributed manner, on a microservices architecture that you want, and we'll deal with the problem of building a platform. Now, just because it's an integrated stack doesn't mean you have to use all of it. You can just use tiny pieces of it. You can plug other pieces in. So, we integrate well, but you choose what you want from it. You don't have to use the whole stack. You can swap in and out pieces that you want. But we focus on building something that's an integrated stack offering that helps you build services at scale, services that are agile. That's what Service Fabric is. So when you think that on this platform as a container orchestrator, you can just run containers, you can build microservices, you can run this on Service Fabric. And that platform, you can run in many, many, many different environments. For one, I've got it on my laptop here, on my dev box. So taking Service Fabric and just deploying it on my dev machine, which is exactly the same code bits that we run inside the cloud, is a key benefit for developers. We love it when developers say to us, I build my application locally, and I know it's going to run inside Azure because it's the same bits running on my machine. In Azure, we host a managed service, and I'll show you a lot of that today. It's a managed service running Service Fabric where you go up and you ask for a cluster of machines that Service Fabric is deployed to. And that managed service allows you, deploys out regular upgrades to Service Fabric, the platform. You get a chance to see the cluster of machines that are running inside there, and that's where you can deploy your app. And because it's running inside Azure, you get all the benefits of choosing any type of VM you want, scaling out the number of machines you want on demand, scaling down the number of machines you want on demand, and we take care of all the hard things of making sure the machines are placed in the right racks, so they're in the right failure domains, and you don't have to think about the actual failure of your cluster because we've designed all that for you. However, we recognize that there are a lot of customers as well who have their own data centers, and we have a hugely popular install called Service Fabric Standalone or Service Fabric On-Premise. You can take Service Fabric bits, you can just go up and take 3, 4, 10,000 machines of your choice, network them together, install Service Fabric on one of them, run a simple PowerShell command, copies it across the rest of the machines, and you have a cluster up and running. You can have a 5-node cluster up and running in under a minute. With our on-premise install. And it's been hugely popular with those people who are saying, look, I want to do some local dev testing. I don't want to use resources in Azure, so it saves me some money. Plus, I want to run it locally as well first. And in fact, I even want to run it in my customers' data centers. So I want to ship an on-premise product, because I have to, and run it inside Azure. So you have this choice, and it's just another easy-to-install cluster on-premise. And then, just the other day, I had one of the cloud solution architects phone me up, and he goes, hey, Mark, I've got a problem. I've got this customer who's running Service Fabric on AWS. We have quite a few of these, and they simply love it. And I said, well, okay, that's great. And he's like, yeah, but we have to get them onto Azure. I was like, well, there's other benefits you can run on Azure, but I have plenty of customers who run on AWS as another platform, installing the on-premise bits, let's be clear, so you don't get a lot of the benefits of a managed service that we provide inside Azure, but it's possible, and that happens. So other clouds are perfectly open. We just embrace those. In fact, we have an article that we published about exactly how to install Service Fabric on AWS machines. So there you have as a platform. It has all sorts of capabilities from the developer side of things, where you can build programming models, all the way through to the operational side of things. We recognize that you're in a DevOps world of things. You have to have a platform that covers the whole gamut, from orchestration and deployment of code, to the development of frameworks, to health monitoring, to diagnostics, to your rollouts of your services. And that platform is available now on your DevBox for Windows and Linux. We announced today that we have now Service Fabric running inside Azure for Linux and Windows. We have it on-premise with the Linux offering coming very soon. And of course, with that on-premise offering, you can actually also take that and run other clouds. So it's a universal platform that's available with all sorts of different installation SKUs. When you look at the managed service, we divide it up into 3 categories of what it gives you. It's a microservices platform, which means you could scale up and scale down the number of machines. It provides built-in high availability. If machines fail, we figure out what goes wrong and where to distribute your load. It has built-in orchestration. It is an orchestrator, and it has a full ops lifecycle experience around how you develop and deploy your apps. But being a managed service, you can use auto-scaling to scale up and down, because it's built on our underlying technology called VM scale sets. We provide automatic platform upgrades of the runtime of Service Fabric on those machines. It's integrated with OMS and App Insights for your deep diagnostics across the services that you run and the cluster itself. And of course, it has its own health monitoring built into it all. And then finally, it's a productive development environment. We recognize that in the end, you've got to build an app. You've got to find some code. Where is that code and what's it look like? We provide productive programming models to help you build those microservices applications. Now, you can bring any code you want. You can bring Node.js code, Java code, whatever you want to build on that. But then we also allow you to use the programming models that we built in to help you build those microservices on a local development environment and with the tools of your choice depending on the platform. Of course, Visual Studio is our preferred one for Windows. And then on Java, in the Java world, for Linux, we I've integrated with Eclipse, Jenkins, and Yeoman as the tools there, which we've open sourced. When we look on-premise, as I mentioned, it literally is easy as taking a set of machines, installing Service Fabric on one of them. In fact, if you come down to our booth afterwards, we have a little cluster of machines that are running there, and we'll show you exactly what it runs on little small profile machines or big machines. It doesn't matter, you run it on any of these things that runs on Windows OS. And we see a lot of people like the symmetry on-premise where they have Active Directory. Service Fabric integrates well with Active Directory. Running a cluster of machines for Service Fabric, and then SQL Server. And you can sort of take that same architecture concepts into the cloud for easy migration. And then coming pretty early next year, you'll find that Service Fabric will actually be also offered as a service running in Azure Stack. So Azure Stack, you'll see that our managed service that you see will be in Azure Stack, so you can deploy all your applications inside there. I mean, right now, you can actually use Azure Stack just because it's a set of machines, and you can deploy it with our standalone offering, but the managed offering that allows you to deploy clusters and have them upgraded is something that we're integrating and come early in the new year. So a huge spectrum of how you can run Service Fabric. And here's the thing. We built Service Fabric, ultimately, we built it as a platform for ourselves, for Microsoft. When you hear talk about all the capabilities of Cosmos DB that you heard in a keynote session this morning, that global replication, that global distributed platform, and all of the power of Cosmos DB, guess what? It's built on Service Fabric. So with all of the power of all that platform of Cosmos DB is because of that very concept of replication, global distribution, global regions is built core into Service Fabric, the platform, and Cosmos DB is built as an app on top of that in terms of how it deals with replication of data in a NoSQL fashion. We also have a SQL version as well that we built. In fact, that's where the origins of the project started. Many other services built on Service Fabric, both inside Azure. Lots of core Azure services are, the Azure Load Balancer, the networking stack, all sorts of services that we use for provisioning VMs are all built and run on top of Service Fabric. And then services outside Azure itself, Skype for Business, Cortana, we run these all sorts of other data centers. So the true essence is that Service Fabric is built as a tier 1 mission-critical platform. We bet our business on it, and that's exactly what we tell you. You can bet your business on this platform, because this is what we build our services on at Microsoft. And it runs on millions of cores. 30% of all the cores inside Azure run Service Fabric for some workload of some kind. So this is key. Sometimes I get asked, is Service Fabric, what's the future of the thing? It's like, well, there you go. I mean, it can't really go away because otherwise half of Azure goes away with it. And the fact that we give it to you as a technology and say, here it is, you use it as well, and for free? For free? is quite an amazing thing, I think. And I think it's unique amongst cloud providers, really, that we do such a thing. I mean, for free is that if you're running it in Azure, you have to pay for the resources that it uses, yes? But if you just take our download and stick it on your machines, you've just got world-class technology built over 15 years for free. And same with the people who run it in AWS, for that matter. So yes, all our services are powered by Service Fabric. As you look up the stack and you say to yourself, what's it for a developer? We put these our programming models inside there. We have this one called Reliable Services. It allows you to build microservices apps, both stateless and stateful. I'll talk a lot about that. We have this very innovative model called Reliable Actors. Think of little discrete pieces of code, all with their state and objects representing with them. You just say, I want 1 million actors of this type. Say it represents a device, or it represents a person, or it represents a car, as BMW did. An actor is great at holding that state, and then you just say, I want to reference it with ID 123, and you can find this piece of code. And then we deeply integrate with ASP.NET Core. We love ASP.NET Core and .NET Framework around all that for building apps. And importantly, you can run any piece of code you want, and you can run containers as well. And we launched containers earlier in the year for Windows, and we've launched containers now for running on Linux. So you can mix and match all these with your choice. If you just want it as a container orchestrator, great. If you want it as a process to launch a bunch of processes, great. If you want to do our applications built with the containers, you can do that as well. And then in terms of the CI/CD pipeline, integration with VSTS, Visual Studio Team Services, and how we deploy through and build an application. It gets versioned for you and deployed to the clusters that you deploy. How we do the monitoring with OMS and App Insights is all integrated as part of the platform. And then we have third parties like Octopus Deploy, who've built also deployment mechanisms with Service Fabric. So there's a number of different choices out there in terms of how you do your ops pipeline all up. And this is just a selection of the customers that we have today. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of some of these who are running sort of live services on us today. And we've worked very, very closely with hundreds of customers over the last year to get them into production. And if you are in that sort of position, we will be more than happy to spend time with you. In fact, it is our greatest joy in the product team to sit down with customers. And I'll extend a hand to anyone who wants to have a design review and sit down and spend time with you so that we really get you kicked off and understand how you can design your app and take it into production. So let's talk a little bit about clusters, and then I'll do a demo. That was kind of like scene setting of what Service Fabric is. Hopefully you got the message as a platform, what it is and what it's achieved. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into some specific areas around all of this in terms of how to think about the product, and then we'll look at some use cases and we'll do some demos around this all. And as we do that, we'll look through the road ahead in those different areas. So ultimately, Service Fabric has the concept of a cluster, and you can take VM scale sets, which is the underlying technology to scaling out a set of VMs, and when you set up a managed cluster, we stitch those all together, in terms of making a distributed cluster, and make sure that all those VMs are not just independent VMs, but they're actually a cluster. You've got to get to the point of a cluster, because when a machine dies, you have to know what was on that cluster. So Service Fabric builds clusters. They can consist of thousands of machines. In fact, I'll point out to a talk that will show you clusters of thousands of machines that are coming up. And you can scale that cluster in and out. You then typically, inside Azure, expose your cluster out through an Azure endpoint, and then you deploy applications into your cluster, and then your applications are running, and then your customers access your applications. So that's really what a cluster is. And as I mentioned, that cluster can also be on-premise, but I'm doing this from an Azure point of view for the managed cluster. As you look inside that managed cluster a little bit more, what's actually inside there, well, effectively, you're taking VMs. When you set up the cluster, we deploy Service Fabric as an extension across all those VMs. It builds itself into a cluster, meaning that it knows all about the other machines inside the cluster, which is infinitely scalable. And then you come along and you say, I want to deploy my application on code across the cluster. Here it is. Here's a package. Run it for me. And then later on, your customers come along and open up a particular port and start to access your code about where it's running. And Service Fabric does all the smarts around making sure it gets placed in the right part of the cluster. The clusters can be any size, any type of machine. The clusters, we understand exactly the consumption of the resources of the cluster and of your application, and does all the smarts of distributing the services around the cluster. So let's go and look at a demo of what it aims to do to create a cluster. And let me switch over to this other machine here. Put on my glasses. Right, let's go and create a cluster first inside Azure. I'm going to press the right button. There we go. Right, here I am inside Azure, and we're going to create a cluster together inside Azure. So I'll show you what it's like, and then after that, you'll see hundreds of different clusters created, all sorts of different varieties. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cluster, and I'm going to call this Ignite. I'm going to call it just 10, because I know I haven't created that one. You'll see that there's a whole variety of different OSs I can choose from Linux to just Windows, and with container offering, if I want to deploy containers. I can provide access to the actual machine. So one of the beauties, or you can call it as a curse of Service Fabric, is you actually have direct access to all the underlying machines. So you can do whatever you want to those machines if needed. And so, in some ways that's good because you can deploy other extensions on top of it, like virus checkers. You can incorporate those machines into your own existing VNet. You can do whatever you want. But at the same time, of course, you have to do some patching on top of those machines. And we do provide tools to do automated patching around all those. So here I am. If I hit OK on this, I've chosen a particular cluster of different type. I can turn on, I can choose the number of different types of VMs I'm going to have, VM scale sets I should have. I can look at some additional options here. You see, I can turn on diagnostics for health on the cluster. I can integrate with App Insights. Very importantly, we turn on DNS quite often because DNS running inside the cluster allows your services just to be able to communicate over DNS protocol. And then you'll see inside here, this is what we mean by a managed service. Here's all the versions that we ship. We ship new versions of Service Fabric about every 4 weeks, roll them all out. And you can ask for either automatically roll it out across my cluster, or I will manually come in here and upgrade my version at my own choice whenever I want to. So here's all the versions that are currently in support. And you can choose any one of these different versions and upgrade between them all. So that's what we mean by a managed cluster. What I can choose now is I can choose my node type. I'm going to say this is the name of my VM scale sets. And if I go off here, I can see all the SKUs of VMs I can choose inside Azure. Now, we have a preferred type. We prefer these D2, V2 series. But you can actually choose the whole gamut of whatever type of SKU that is best for the type of workload that you have. There's all sorts of varieties that come out each time. There are some that we don't recommend quite so much as others, but we don't limit those in any way. So if you want one that's got a GPU on it, go for it. You can include that inside the cluster. So if I go back to this recommended list here and just choose this D2, V2 series here, you can see actually now that we can actually just stand up a single node cluster if you want. If you just want a single machine running Service Fabric, you can use that for dev test purposes. It's not going to give you any high availability, but at least you have it running and you can do some testing against all of that. That was something that we put in earlier this year. For running in production, we suggest 5 nodes, but of course you can run it down on 3. You just have to be a bit more careful on 3, but really 5 is the recommended practice for running it inside Azure. And then you can open up a number of different ports here. I can open up ports 80 and 81. And in doing so, I've now set up my cluster, choosing my node type inside here. I want to put this into automatic upgrade inside here, choose my node type here. I can set up some security on this cluster, which we recommend. So you can set up key vault, cert access of how you access this cluster, but you can also do AAD in terms of managing the cluster. So we integrate with AAD for all your authentication purposes. This is how I do my deployments. And then at the end of all of this, if I close this down, what you'll actually get is you'll get a cluster deployed inside Azure. And let me open up one here. Here I have a cluster running inside Azure. And you'll see that it has a dashboard view here, which shows my nodes running inside my cluster. I've got 3 VMs running inside here in this particular one. You'll see that I have a cluster map view that shows, here's my cluster striped across the machines. There's default domains here. These are the physical racks. And then there are upgrade domains. So when you do a rolling upgrade with your application, it'll move across the upgrade domains in a consistent way, making sure your application is deployed across that cluster before it moves on to the next upgrade domain, guaranteeing that your application maintains its availability during its rollout. This is one of the key things that we built and spent many years getting right, of how we do a rollout across the cluster to ensure that we copy new bits onto the cluster, shut down existing processes, fail a client requests over to another machine, service all the requests there, start up the new bits on that existing machine, make sure they're all healthy. You can plug in your own health checks to figure out whether it's nice or not. And when it's come up and healthy again, we move on to the next upgrade domain, fail all the client requests back to the other one. And if you can imagine, it's a fairly complicated process. But at the same time, we provide no downtime guarantees for all the requests coming in to your cluster. Make sense? So that's how you get this cluster. You can see here's all these system services running inside Service Fabric. These are the things that do all the smarts. There's that DNS service. There's the image store service that stores all your binary packages that we pull down into your machine. The naming service does discovery from a microservices perspective of talking between containers or your services. The upgrade service rolls out new upgrades across the cluster. The cluster manager service manages the actual health of the cluster. The failover manager service deals with failover of services. And you'll see that in this particular one, I've got no applications deployed. But this is my Service Fabric Explorer. You get this everywhere. If you've built it on-premise, you get this one. If you're running it inside Azure, you get this Explorer view around things. And here's the wonderful thing. You can go and get free clusters. If you go to tryservicefabricazure.com here, and you sign in with a particular account, you see I've got one here already, actually. I stole this one just in case I've run out of clusters. We host a whole bunch of these clusters. You can go and get one for free. It opens up some ports. You can try it out. You have a 3-hour time period before the thing shuts down. But saves you having to go and create one yourself, try it out, deploy some things onto it. This was the one I was just looking at as I went to the cluster inside Azure, and I connected to it all here. It was exactly the same as the one I created. So this is one of these free clusters in Try-Service Fabric that you can do, you can connect to, and you can choose both Windows or Linux versions of those clusters. So that's what a cluster is. That's how you use it. Let me switch back to slides here, which was this one here. And clusters are prevalent everywhere. That's why there's a little party hat, because those party clusters inside here. If you want to know more about managing clusters and how you have to do all of the smarts around it all, come along to a session that we have on Wednesday of this week called Managing, Securing, and Scaling Your Service Fabric Clusters. We'll show you how to do scale out, scale down, how to create those clusters with PowerShell, and all sorts of other cool ways of managing those clusters in depth in this talk. So we've actually been listening over the last year a lot about how you do cluster creation. We had a lot of people talk about how you can make cluster security easy, provide a patching service which is integrated with Windows Update that you can run inside your cluster that provides patching across a set of machines for you. We provided PowerShell to easily create clusters from a scripting perspective, create secure ones. We provided deeper integration with App Insights and OWN Insights, and then a whole bunch of guidance around it all. And if you go to that talk that's happening on Wednesday, we're going to show you a whole bunch of other things that are on the roadmap. Some of the most exciting things is that for years we've had Service Fabric as the ability to create cross-regional clusters or clusters across more than one just data center. The technology has been built into it for about 4 or 5 years. And now we've just been able to, through other capabilities inside Azure, the networking stack, we're going to show you how you can do cross-regional clusters. So when you see the cross-regional replication happen inside Cosmos DB, yes, the functionality is already there. How are we going to provide it to you? We'll show you how you can do it all now. And we're going to push hard because we get a lot of people asking us, how do I make availability more than just single data centers? We'll also show you a bunch of other things about easier ways to create clusters through Azure CLI, how we think about doing mixed clusters. Particularly, we're going to integrate with other third-party providers for diagnostics. And we'll also show you how you can deploy applications through an ARM-based model rather than just directly connecting to the cluster. So lots of stuff that's happening inside that talk. I recommend that you go along and see it all. Let's move on now to talking about applications and what that means for you as a developer in terms of how you deploy and build those applications into the clusters that we build for Service Fabric. What we've seen actually over the years is that, and this has happened at Microsoft as well, is that what you're trying to do is you're trying to modernize your application, which mostly means that you may now have a desire to take some existing code and you're hosting that as a service. Whether that is because you're trying to reach global demand or because that's because you want to make it more resilient or just do more throughput around that all. There's a number of different reasons within inside the company. So what we see is that your first step that you can do is you literally can take your existing code as it stands, go up to a Service Fabric cluster, describe it with a simple manifest to describe what your app is, and then say, host and run this piece of code for me that you already have. You can run it as existing pieces of code. So for example, I work closely with a big energy company. They had some Java simulation that they run inside Java virtual machines. They just want to run those virtual machines as a hosted piece of code and some executables around them all in order to make sure that they did their simulations around this all. This is where the sort of container, lift and shift strategy into containers comes in as well. Service Fabric is a first-class container orchestrator, and if one of those workloads you want to move in there is want to be containerized, for example, inside IIS or some other workload, we're seeing that containers are now becoming a preferred technology in order to do that deployment, simply because you can have a contract between the developer side of the organization and the ops side of the organization, and for all the other benefits of containers where it self-encapsulates a set of code and binaries that you can deploy together. But it's a choice. In fact, I'll talk about a customer that's done both processes and code around all of this. After that, we see that what people may choose to do is you may say, now I want to sort of do a little bit of more code around my app. I want to write some other little services, access that data. That big energy company that hosted those simulation engines wrote some more code in order to pull data out, in order to access it from other tools that they had to see the visualization and the results of the simulations that they ran. And you can write other pieces of code that run Notion service going down a microservices approach. You may decide to tackle a piece of that larger application. At a UK company that did encoding across lots of different types of workflows. They did encoding for lots of different types of different platforms. They had an existing app that they were running and hosted today, but the number of encoding platforms they were trying to support for their different platforms they hosted content to their providers, a bit like Netflix, they needed to speed up that encoding platform. They were bottlenecked on a single database application, bottlenecking on all of the encoding of these different types of formats. They split out that piece of code. They built some separate microservices. They ran that separately in its own little cluster. They could scale it up based on the demands of the number of pieces of content they had to encode for the different platforms they had to code, and therefore they were able to deal with the scale problem that they had. And then finally, you might get to this sort of fully transformed, I've broken my app apart into lots of different individual pieces of code, or this may be sort of greenfield. But the important thing is that you can do any stage of this that you want and stop at any time that you want on a path to take existing code all the way through to run it at scale on a services platform, taking advantage of the things that you want to do, whether it's deploying new code, some existing code, or integrating it with some existing diagnostics. It's your choice around all of these. So let's go into looking at some of these examples now. And we're going to start with sort of containers and orchestration. So if we look at where we are with that today. Now, earlier this year, we announced Service Fabric as a container orchestrator in terms of capabilities at build for Windows. And today, earlier in the keynote, we announced the fact that Service Fabric is available for GA on Linux, where you can create a Linux cluster of machines. You can deploy containerized applications inside all of that, and you can deploy the containers, whether they're sort of preferred on the Linux side and running inside those clusters. So we're super excited today that after 2 years of relentless hard work, and we previewed this at Ignite last year, we finally GA'd our Linux offering for Service Fabric, so you can basically truly have different OSs you want to run on in production. And you can scale these clusters to up to thousands of machines, and of course you can deploy millions of containers inside that at scale. What that means is we've released a new runtime version 6.0, to signify that this change of now, that the 6.0 means that the GA is in production for Linux clusters as well as Windows clusters, with a new SDK with features inside it all. And right now, the programming models that sit on top of the the Linux side for both Java and for .NET Core are just in preview, and we're rapidly iterating on those, and they'll come out of preview later this year within a few weeks from now. So then, in a few weeks from now, you'll be able to build .NET applications and Java applications. You can try out the SDK now, also in production around all those. And there's a great talk coming up tomorrow about our Linux offering, going deep into showing you how to build applications with .NET Core, with Linux, and showing you all the container orchestration functionality. But I'm going to give you a little demo now of what it's like, because it's good to have a little demo around things. Let me just put my glasses back on again here. Let me switch over back to this machine. Let me give you a little demo offering of what it's like. So I'm going to take this party cluster I've got here. We've got it here looking at the moment. Here's no applications deployed. We have a great little tutorial that we published here called Deploy a Service Fabric Linux Container Application inside Azure. And in order to make yourself life easy, what we've gone and done is I was going to open up a Cloud Shell here. So I've got this Cloud Shell that's running up inside Azure. We wrote this little tutorial here, and it allows us to have an existing application. So we can clone this application, go back into my Cloud Shell. And once my Cloud Shell is returned, you'll see that we've now integrated Service Fabric with a CLI command line. And there's a CLI command line that I have called sfctl. And this is Service Fabric control that allows you to do a whole bunch of commands in Linux, or on Windows for that matter, running in a bash shell, that allows you to do CLI commands for managing Service Fabric clusters and applications inside here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste and clone this Git repo onto this Cloud Shell. I'm just going to go back to this article here, and because it makes my life less typing, just choose the directory that I've deployed this thing into. So I can just paste it inside here. You'll see inside here we have an install script for the application. There's an application manifest that describes it all. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just connect to this cluster now. So here's my cluster URL. Let me go to the top here because it's easier to grab from here. Let me just minimize this down. I'm going to grab my URL, go back to my Cloud Console. I can do SF control. I can do cluster, select, endpoint. And I can give it the URL. I can paste the URL inside here at 19080. And inside the Cloud Shell, I've now connected to my cluster that I deployed earlier. It's that free party cluster. If I now just do install this app that we pull down, this will run the install script. It takes that Service Fabric application manifest that describes my app, connects to my cluster, and deploys it into my cluster here. We'll just switch back here. So we'll see here, here's that voting app getting deployed. So this voting app consists of two containers. It's a container that has a web front end, and it has a Redis backend. We just took a standard Redis container from the internet. It wasn't anything new that we did with that. That's the backend here. That's our Azure backend here. You can in fact go and look at the manifest for this that gets deployed. If you go and look at the manifest for this, and if you go and look at the image that gets deployed, you'll see that we simply deployed and pulled down a container host with a Redis Alpine image. That's all we did. There was nothing special about this. The front end we did do a little bit of work on. Again, you can go inside here. You can go and look at the manifest for this one, and it's a manifest that we wrote that actually builds a little front end. So if you go now back and you go and look at, if we just reduce this back here and look at the essentials, we'll see that for this particular voting app, both those containers have been deployed. They're running, they're active. So if I now go back and just pull out this URL here again, open up a new tab, paste it inside here, and with great success and luck, ta-da! That's my web front end running inside a container, hosted in a Linux cluster that I've now activated and run inside Azure. Yay. So this is your first view of Linux clusters running GA that we have. We're pretty excited about this. Of course, with this little app, it's a voting app. I can vote on blue and purple. I don't know why we chose blue and purple. I usually cats and dogs, but it's blue and purple. So you can vote for different things. If you go back and think about what you can do inside this, well, what are the benefits of Service Fabric? Well, here you have your front end. What happens with machines all the time? Well, machines fail, yes? So, if machines fail, inside here, Service Fabric doesn't care. We can deactivate a particular machine. We're shutting down a particular machine. And as we shut down a particular machine, it takes a few moments to shut down this one that's running inside Azure itself. You'll see that Service Fabric detects the fact, and there it fails over and starts launching the web front end on another machine and keeps going. So you don't lose any of the high availability of what's running. It's downloaded the container, it's off, and if you look inside here, it's deployed that new container to the new node. If I re-enable this one and activate that machine again, I can also go inside here and say, well, I want to scale out the number of servers inside here. I want to run this on 2 machines instead. And And Service Fabric will now say, you want to dynamically change the number of instances of this container that's running? I'll just launch 2 of them now. I'll pick another machine, and you'll see that it's sort of intelligently picked. The back end is on 2, and it'll choose the other 2 machines for 1. And it now exactly knows that there are 2 instances of this running. You'll have to make sure you hook this up through to the load balancer, but it'll make sure that the requests are sent across those particular sort of machines. You'll see actually that these machines have particular IP addresses around them all. So it's a simple matter of dealing with failover, dealing with scale out, and you can just put all your existing applications inside some of those containerized workloads, and there you are. You can choose now whether it's a Windows workload or a Linux workload. Of course, we're going to go back and talk a lot about Windows workloads because they're important, and that's what we want to spend time on as well, talking about here. But it's a little great demo just to show how I can deploy in no time a Linux containerized application in a free cluster with Cloud Shell inside Azure and get up and running to show a demo. We've got 2 great talks that are coming up. One tomorrow, which is going in-depth into the Linux offering in terms of talking about how you build the apps. We're going to look at Java building apps, .NET Core apps. We're going to talk about some of the history of how we got here, the Linux side of things, some of the gotchas we went through. We actually have a single code base that compiles across Windows and Linux for Service Fabric. So there's not 2 code bases. We spend a lot of time making sure that we can compile and build across both those platforms. And so it was quite an endeavor, but we're extremely excited we've got here and stabilized it and can now offer it as a GA platform. There's a really exciting talk coming up on Wednesday, and the talk kind of gives away what it's about, yes? Orchestrating 1 million containers. You'll be blown away by the performance of Service Fabric in this talk in terms of the scale of the clusters that you can create and the speed of deployment of containers inside those. And you'll see some amazing things that we've done on perf and scale in terms of the speed of the platform, because we had to, yes? We bet our business on this platform. We had to make sure that it was the most performant platform that we could do for deploying these containerized applications at scale in order for us to do speed of development as well as density of cost. You have to realize the orchestrator has had years and years and years of being pounded by the SQL guys in terms of how the databases get optimized for their placement, large databases, small databases. So we are extremely optimized in terms of how we do a choice of how these things run on different platforms. So let's move on a little bit here now. We're going to move on from, we're going to spend a bit more time on containers, actually. So this is your first step. You can sort of containerize your workloads. And what we see happening a lot now with Windows workloads is we see a lot of people saying they're taking existing workloads and moving them into containers for a deployment mechanism for that first step to get to the cloud. And so that means you can take some existing apps, you can build them into a container, and you can describe it with a Service Fabric application model I did just then, or you can actually use another way of describing your application to deploy with Docker Compose. So Docker Compose is a way of describing an application that Docker came up with. We decided, wouldn't it be cool to build that into the platform as well as another way of just saying, hey, I want to describe my application with Docker Compose because I have something already. You can bring both of those formats along, run that container with either of those application descriptions inside Service Fabric cluster, push all your images via Git into Azure Container Registry, where Azure Container Registry is a store for container images that we run in all our regions. You probably can do some, in this particular case, there was some data migration side of things into the cloud. You heard Scott Guthrie talk about this in his keynote talk about database migration service and show how it's super easy to take database on premise and move it into the cloud, containerize your workloads inside Windows containers, and then, of course, you can actually hook those up now, and now you've moved into the cloud, doing no more than existing workload running inside containers deployed inside Service Fabric. So let's go and look at existing workloads. So we did, this is a great tutorial that we have that I won't go through the whole tutorial with you. I'll just show you sort of the results of it. But if you go to our docs inside here and you go to these tutorials, we just rewrote all of this. There's this one here called Containerize a .NET Application, and it goes through the whole steps of how you take an existing, create an existing cluster and take an existing .NET app. And we take this existing .NET app here, which is Fabricam, this one here. And we show you exactly how to do these steps. And I have this app here deployed, running inside a cluster here inside Azure. just as it was an IIS app that we did a demo about 4 or 5 years ago. We showed this at Build. We just containerized it, deployed it inside Azure, inside a container, and then now I can describe and put this inside a Service Fabric cluster. And what I wanted to show you is I had a cluster here which already has FabricCam deployed to it all. This is the cluster with that app deployed to it all. You can see that it's running on actually it's running on a single machine here at the moment. And just like I did before, I can actually go in here and I can sort of scale this particular instance of this service out. If you do the -1, that means scale it across all the machines. So I'm scaling out this FabricCam container app, which is a Windows container now. This is a Windows container on a Windows set of machines deployed across these clusters running inside Azure. But I'm going to show you another example here. I have another cluster here, which is a Windows cluster here, which is currently empty. This is our brand new release that came out today. So we just shipped 1.0. You can tell it's slightly brand new because we made this little thing slightly thinner. You see that? No. That's the magical thing of the UI. Look, see, look, old one here. Yeah, old one. Okay, new one. Sorry, new one. Look at this. It's just like modernized. Yeah. So yes, there's other things about this. So there's lots of things in the runtime about all this. So, so let me go to PowerShell. So I've got this. I'm going to connect to this cluster. So I'm going to do PowerShell now. I showed you some CLI. I'm going to do some PowerShell. We love PowerShell. Yay! I connected to this cluster using PowerShell Connect Service Fabric cluster. This is the name of my cluster. I can look at my cluster health. Is my cluster healthy? Yes. It's got some nodes that are running there. There are 3 nodes. They're healthy. They are running. And now I can do this command here called new Service Fabric compose application, and I can describe my application with a compose definition inside here. And I can deploy this. And so I'm going to just select this. And while this deploys inside here, you'll see that it'll now deploy this application with compose. If I switch back to my view inside here, you'll see it'll start deploy this application. The compose is just another application definition. It'll start to pull down the containers and deploy them all. So let's just make sure that that is kicked off and running. I think it is doing something. It'll appear here in a moment. And while it does, there we go. So while that goes off and pulls down this application, what I wanted to show you is that this project consisted, this is one that we built earlier. We actually showed this at our build demo earlier this year. I just thought I'd pull it out here and show it again as another example of how we described, this is the compose file that described a front-end web app, a back-end service that we deployed, 2 individual containers talking to each other over a DNS service that's running inside Service Fabric. The code is very simple because you just do a DNS call. We just do an HTTP request from the front-end service to the back-end service. So this simply describes my application inside here. And both these applications, when I look at them inside here, had Docker files associated with them in order to compile these applications and push them up into a registry. So these applications were compiled, pushed into a registry. The call between the front end and a back end application, I can't remember where it was. I think it was inside the TPS controller. There we go. So inside here, I simply did a call from a DNS call here to my back-end service here, which was my back-end data app. That's all I had to do from my front-end service to my back-end service. So, containerized apps deployed in the containerized application. And here they are both deployed. Here's the web front-end. Here's the back-end. And they both got successfully deployed inside here. Now what I'm able to do is, again, just as we did sort of with the FabricCam one that we had before, if I go up inside here and hit the URL endpoint for this, hang on, not that endpoint, just the port 80 endpoint, because it got deployed to port 80. This application got deployed to port 80. We opened up rules for the load balancer to be able to access port 80 inside here, and when it hits it'll start the container instance for the first time because the container is trying to get loaded on the first one. And, oh, right, maybe I didn't get the URL just right. Is this app loaded inside with the port 80? I can go and check that it's port 80. Oh, it's still in build. It's still taking a little time to deploy that web front-end one. So maybe we'll come back to this one at the moment and see what happens. let that continue to deploy. The Windows container sizes are larger on whole than the Linux ones, and so it takes a little longer to deploy your container applications inside Windows on a whole. So we'll let that happen, and we'll come back and look at it a bit later. But the point is, it shows now that Service Fabric is a container orchestrator. You can easily deploy multiple containers, communicate between them with a variety of different choices, whether it's as simple as DNS, or you can have other choices of how you communicate between those containers. Service Fabric has also built-in reverse proxy and communication protocols to help you build those microservices-based apps. And again, it's just that beginning of that journey that you can have in order to take advantage of Service Fabric as a platform for deploying your applications. So we'll come back to that and see if it comes out of in build later when it deploys that app. So let me switch back here to slides. So that's, and there's a great talk coming up on Wednesday that goes deep into how to think about taking your existing containerized apps or your applications, put them inside containers, run them on Windows, and Service Fabric is a fantastic platform. We've spent years and years and years being very good at building services on Windows. We built a very good container orchestrator on top of all of that. And so if you want to have Windows containers running on a world-class orchestrator, and bring your workloads to that, Service Fabric is a great choice for that as a platform in order to just do that first lift and shift into containerized things using Windows Server 2016 for the platform for running containerized applications. And that talk there goes a lot in terms of how to use Service Fabric in order to containerize your applications and deploy them into Service Fabric clusters. There's one company I had a great pleasure to spend time with recently that did exactly this migration path. They just posted on Friday last week, if you search for Service Fabric Team blog, they wrote a great case study. Every month or so we publish a case study written by a customer that they want to describe what they did with Service Fabric. We published 2 last week, and ABBYY was one of them. They're a company that does lots of OCR and language learning and all sorts of things in order to help you build sort of social networks. And one of the things that they have at the moment is they've built a social network that allows you to learning languages across millions of people. And they had existing technology they had built over 20 years that had every Windows technology you can imagine inside it all. They had COM+, registry settings, all sorts of things. And some of that couldn't be easily containerized, and some of it could. And what they loved about Service Fabric is they could just take some of their existing code, they packaged it up into a Service Fabric manifest and deployed existing code as processes. And none of the bits they put inside containers because that's the ultimate path they wanted to do. But they could take an on-premise application and turn it into a service, now providing a service where lots of people could come to these social networks and learn languages off each other and help each other, where they did translation for people into those languages and helped them build this sort of language portal around all that. And it was a great example of how they could migrate an existing app into modern architecture. They could have modern practices of rolling out changes quickly. They were painful before in terms of how they deployed these things in a scaled out way. They could do global reach. For them, going to Brazil and South America was super important. They just went to South America, stood up a Service Fabric cluster, deployed an app, bam, they were there in Brazil running their app. Whereas before they had had all sorts of complications about how they got a presence inside Brazil. And so, there's this great quote from Eugene, who was their development manager. It was like, what was so cool about Service Fabric is I could just take some existing code, or I could containerize something, and it was just that first step. And as they go forward now, they can take advantage of the Service Fabric programming models to build more. Looking at the road ahead for containers, we're doing a ton of stuff here to make them good. We're making sure that we have great network isolation modes inside your applications. When I deploy that single application, you can have a single VNet to protect and make sure only your applications can see each other inside that mode. And then in the release that we've just done today that we released, we have what's called Open Network, where all the containers deployed inside your cluster have their own IP addresses. So in other words, say you had a network for 10.0.0 deployed inside your cluster. Each one of those containers gets their own IP address. So it makes it super simple now for you to be able to talk between those containers with an IP address and a port, or to open up containers through load balancing rules to the Azure, through to the internet. And this way, you're not having to deal with making sure you get a port address from the underlying host and mapping that through to the container. You just see this sort of flat, open network of all IP addresses across containers. And it makes it great and super simple for your container deployments inside there. And then the top one, the isolated network, make sure it's very, when you deploy your application, only it can see the IP addresses that you want it to see, and it's kind of a multi-tenant way of making sure that your containers run in a safe, isolated way. And as we look towards the other things, today, right now, the Visual Studio tools don't allow you to do debugging in containers in Service Fabric projects. That's being fixed. Yeah, you can only do it inside what's called the Compose projects. Here's a cool thing that we're building, and we're going to show this in the containers talk on Wednesday. Now, Service Fabric is a storage technology. One of the things we do, and I'll show that in a bit, we build high availability technology into the platform, and we're building a mounted drive so you can run any database application inside a container and do that at HA. We're doing the Docker Compose. We love the Service Fabric application models running inside containers. We obsess over performance and scale. And an interesting one here of those who know about Azure Container Instance, we're having that built into the platform as well. So you can create instances over the Azure Container Instance API. And after this talk, I encourage you to go and listen to a talk by Corey Sanders, who's happening right now. In fact, he's probably doing this demo right now. And go and listen to him and how he talks about ACI container instances being integrated deeply into Service Fabric. Right, let's switch gears a little bit more. And we're just going to go up to the final level of, okay, so you've got these containers, you've hosted some code. I'm now going to run and build some more code. What is it the way you do that? How is it you build new services on top of all of this? And generally what we see is that when people build scaled out distributed systems, they build things along a classic stateless pattern, where you build code as stateless pieces of services that run with a web front end, and you store all your data in the back end storage. Very common. We have lots of services built this way. We encourage you to do it this way first. We have lots of services in Microsoft that are built like this way. This is a very sort of, if you use cloud services, it's a very cloud services way of doing it all. And typically, of course, you have to do some reliability between your layers using queues between those things. But as hopefully many of you know, Service Fabric actually has spent many years building storage technology deep into the platform itself. And what that means is that we have what we also call stateful services. And stateful services mean that we hold the state of the application that runs close to the compute. So effectively, we provide code and compute co-located together for extremely high latency, and often in many cases a simplification of the design. And we guarantee that this state is maintained across the nodes inside the cluster, and we replicate that state, and it's a fully consistent state inside the database. And those consistency protocols and how we achieve them all, again, think about how you build Cosmos DB on top of Service Fabric. It's going to make sure that the data that you replicate is fully consistent, yes? You can't have an eventual or consistent thing. You don't want half your data lost. So that core principle of being able to replicate state and make sure the state is highly available and do that through leader electron protocols and replication is core part of the platform. So we build that into what we call stateful services and surfaces out through programming models that allow you to build those apps. And there are many cases where you have hot data that you're acting on now, like the data from a device or data from, that you want to access and do queries over, that you can store inside these stateful collections, these stateful programming models to help you build those applications. And again, it's a choice. It's a thing that we see people don't necessarily go to first, but when they realize the power of the platform, these come along on time and do that sort of stuff. And of course, we're taking advantage of this to provide stateful containers. I won't go through all of these. I'll let you read the slides later, but many customers, including Schneider Electric, building an IoT system, D&H, who built a small business lending application, Football Empire, we have lots of games companies, for example, building on Service Fabric. It fits extremely well there, especially with the active programming model, building gaming solutions on top of Service Fabric with these programming models. And that's what we find helps people take it to the next level in terms of the ease of development of building these microservices-based apps. Oh, let me show you a little demo, and then we're about to wrap up after that. So let me just switch back to my laptop here and show you a classic demo of let me switch back to again. I think I keep choosing the wrong. Right, okay, here we are in Visual Studio. We're going to do File, New, Project. Oh, wrong one. We can start it again. File, New, Project. Here we are, Service Fabric application. And inside here, you can build a number of different Service Fabric applications. You can do these stateless and stateful services. You can bring any piece of code. You can run a container. We love ASP.NET Core. I'm going to choose stateful inside here. Here I am. I'm going to pick up and build a stateful service. And what this will do is it will build an application with a single stateful service inside it all. And you'll see that this is the application definition inside here. Inside here, let me just start and run this. Now, the wonderful thing about Service Fabric, is that with my local cluster experience inside here, I can actually see I have my local cluster explorer inside here. So now I'm attaching to a Service Fabric cluster on my dev box. And here it is, Service Fabric cluster running on my dev box. I've got a number of different nodes running. I've got deployed. I'm deploying that Service Fabric application here. Here it's got deployed into my cluster. And if I switch back to Visual Studio, you'll see I have a rich diagnostics experience here where diagnostics events are coming out from my application to see exactly what the detail is running inside my application. This particular application, being a stateful one, writes out a number in terms of how it gets deployed. And so you're able to debug your applications, see them running inside Service Fabric Explorer once this gets deployed. And you'll see here, this is the replication mechanism replicating the state of my code across the different nodes inside the cluster here. All of this is built in as part of the platform. And if I unpause and make this run and see my events, I should eventually see some events happening inside here for this particular application that's running. I'm not too sure. I'm not seeing my events at the moment. But they will start. So here's my application. Just as before, I can actually sort of restart individual nodes inside here. It's made all my state highly available. And when I fail this over, you'll see that the machine, if I deactivate this, there'll be an immediate failover from a primary to a secondary on another machine in terms of making sure that my data is made highly available. And all of that is achieved because what happens is inside Service Fabric, we have, from a developer perspective, this very simple concept of reliable dictionaries. Think of it as you can just use a dictionary, but the dictionary replicates its state, makes sure your data is highly available, and makes sure it's consistent across platforms. And it's a choice as a developer you can use to use storage technology inside Service Fabric for building applications that are stateful and data aware and run them at scale. It's an extremely powerful technology, and all those previous applications I talked about, including many services we have at Microsoft. Intune holds, there's a massive service that runs on Service Fabric. They hold all the data for all the devices for when you log on, holds all its data inside reliable dictionaries on local disk across the cluster machines for extremely fast retrieval of their data. Of course, they do an offload of their data for analytics, but this is where they keep all their primary data that they use. So it's a great choice of how we can show how to use Service Fabric for building stateful services as part of the platform. And then Service Fabric integrates with many different other services. We're particularly pleased about Service Fabric integrates with API management. You can expose it, as I've shown, through a web front end as well. Through IoT Hub and Event Hub, we get lots of customers who use these as front ends for the applications that they host. So API management will be the front end for the service APIs you expose, talking to your individual services inside your cluster. And as we look towards the future, we'll see that we'll provide reliable collections. There's a simplified way of providing reliable collections. We'll provide backup and restore for all the data inside here. We're just about to release a service, and you'll see that inside the Managing Clusters talk. And one thing that we're quite excited about is a data explorer, a live data explorer that will allow you to see the data inside these reliable collections. If I switch over to here, I have a cluster running. And in this particular cluster, I've got Service Fabric running in a set of machines here with the data inside them all. These are reliable collections. And you'll see in this particular one here, I can actually open up this data explorer, choose my collection inside here. and I'm actually able to execute a query against that and see the live data that's running inside those collections inside the live running service. I can do queries on top of all this, so I can say, for example, give me the first 3 instances inside this collection, and it returns them all. And then I can do edits inside here. I can actually go into this particular collection, and I can add a new key, Mark 2, because I did one earlier, SKU 10, hopefully this works. 10, let's do 10 and 10 here. I chose the product SKU, and I can actually then save this. And then I can see a list of the transactions that are pending to add new things into this collection, submit that, and add that new row entry inside the collection inside here. So this is a great way of being able to see the data inside your collections, being able to manipulate it all. This is actually a sort of a plugin that we have today that we've released as a bit of open source, where effectively you can just plug this into your ASP.NET Core application, manipulate all this data, and then we're going to provide this viewing mechanism to be able to manipulate and view all this data that you see here. But this, combined with a backup and restore service to automatically take your data and push it into a backup and then retrieve it all, that we're going to be releasing in the next few weeks. And we have a demo of tomorrow on Wednesday, I said, in that managing cluster. This talk is a great way to make sure that your data is made highly resilient, reliable, and actually viewable inside live running services such as this. Let me wrap up here. There are a whole bunch of other talks that are happening this week covering Service Fabric. If you're particularly container-focused, the one around showing the container scale is going to be quite exciting on Wednesday. Tomorrow, if you want to dive more into the Linux side, you can. And then there's the managing of the secure clusters and what that looks like. That happens on Wednesday. So I encourage you to go to some of those. We'll go to deeper level demos than they can in this talk. And effectively, we're super excited to hear back from you. We're investing deeply in the platform. We love nothing more than talking to customers. We do regular releases and updates around this all, and we really truly listen to our GitHub issues forum about what people want from the platform and how they fix bugs. And we get a lot of requests in that particular forum. I'm going to leave you with a list of resources around here in terms of how you can actually go off and find out more about Service Fabric. In terms of customer profiles I talked about today are all deeply written up on our blog site. Install the SDK, play with the samples, and then there's a great person that did a comprehensive list of all those things you want to find in Service Fabric. And please evaluate this session. It was great talking with you today. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.